Let's kick off our picks with number 5, Hope Hydration.
If you own any land that meets kind of our metrics of impact and advertising, we will give you the station for free, and we will also pay you an ongoing fee to be able to host the location. It's free. And also, it's a new revenue driver for you. So we have a lot more demand than we can even fill right now. So anyone's listening that has $200 million and wants to give it to us, please. If our goal is to own a category like Red Bull, how would you structure it? So we started Hope Hydration about 5 years ago. What we realized was public drinking water infrastructure is decades behind where it needs to be. When you think about your walk in the park, your walk on the street, if there is even water infrastructure, water fountains you can access, they typically maybe don't work, maybe they're not filtered, they're not cleaned. There's this massive gap between, as a consumer, you're thinking, I need something quick and I need something I can trust. And you've got the store here, you can buy a plastic bottle, or you've got this fountain here that maybe works, maybe doesn't. It's an easy decision as a consumer. You say, I'm going to go to the store, of course, it's $1 or €1, I'm going to buy something. What would it take to put free drinking water access on every street corner of every city around the world? What do we need to do to get that? Well, in our opinion, we needed to do two things. One, we needed to redesign, reimagine the actual infrastructure itself. It's very analog, so we wanted to bring it into the modern world. There needs to be data capabilities. We need to really design a UX and UI that the consumers trust, but also they want to share that experience with other people. The early examples that we used as references were the rideshare systems in cities. You have Lime and then you have Bird, and of course they have their own complications, but people knew the Lime brand and they trusted the Lime brand, and you'd ride the scooters. Or in New York City, they have City Bike. What does that look like with water? So it's kind of piece number one. And piece number two is funding. There's a huge gap in funding around water infrastructure. You're relying on government money or grants, and then what happens when that money dries up? Well, you don't have money for maintenance or filter replacements. Independently, we wanted to find a business model that did not rely on any kind of large approved budgets, and that also funded our stations forever, because in year 10, you need to change parts, and if you don't have money, well, then it doesn't get changed, and then it decays, and we end up in the same situation. We spent about a year surveilling the market, and we said, well, there's a really beautiful kind of intersection between our mission, which is have people refill water, and advertising, which wants as many people interacting with their ads as possible. Now, 5 years later, we have what I think is the world's only, definitely the world's first, drinking water network funded through advertisements. And we primarily operate in venues, so airports, stadiums, in cities. We can work with the cities or with private developers, and then events like Coachella, Formula One. You need a quick solution. They have sponsors, advertisers, and that's what we do and how we operate.
When you say network, that means it's a modular, scalable, movable network. You don't have fixed stuff. It's on event space, so you have to move stuff around. How many of these Hope cabins do you have?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we actually have two, they look the same, but two systems. One is meant for events, so you can pack them in and out in 20 minutes and plug them in, and we could put one here, and tomorrow it could be gone. And then we have our permanent network, which is permanently installed.
How big is the permanent one?
By summer of this year, our permanent network probably will be about 50 units.
Where?
And right now concentrated in the United States, and our city concentration is Los Angeles, California, Austin, Texas, Miami, and New York. We, for example, have the only drinking water fountain in all of Times Square in New York City because the model was very attractive, right? As Times Square, as a city, as a stadium, as an airport, we come in and we say, hey, you don't have to pay a cent. Instead of paying for the stations, paying for the maintenance, we cover 100% of that. We sell the advertisements, and actually, if you own a stadium and we create a deal, I will write you a check back as a percentage of what we're making from the advertisement.
So you're plugging on the existing network, you're filtering that.
Correct.
Additionally, for the end user, what is the promise versus bottled water? The reason I'm asking is that you mentioned California. In California, 80% of the people drink bottled water. One may argue not 80% of the people don't have access to clean drinking water. So how do you overcome that element so that you make the perception of the water you're serving as good as what they expect from a bottle?
Totally. That is the question to ask. Because there's kind of two things that have to go hand in hand. There's one, the actual product. People need to trust it, right? And physically, you need to have the right technologies, the right pieces inside for it to be better quality than what you find in bottle. And that's everything from the way that we operationally maintain the units, making sure that they're always best quality, the filtration. So we work with Pentair and their Everpure line, and they, depending on which city, we can scale up or scale down the actual filtration. So that's piece number one that you have to have, which is missing in most of the market. The second is market. You're going up against billion-dollar brands that are selling you something in store. You go to any of the big tennis matches, any of the big soccer matches, there is a huge water partner there. That's marketing, right? At the end of the day. And by creating the positive associations when you're at your favorite music festival, at your favorite sporting event with that bottle brand, then when you're in the store, you say, of course, well, they were at the US Open and I love Rafa Nadal. So of course I'm going to trust. And so we have to do the same thing. And I think the piece that we're really trying to do with Hope is we are a B2B2C company. Like our clients are advertisers. They're not the end consumer. Water is always free. But we need to use that and build a brand that is consumer facing to build that trust. One of our superpowers is that we're at Formula One, we're at Coachella, we're at these massive, really kind of leading either events or, at your favorite airport, at your favorite stadium. By association, we have a brand presence there.
You have those two use cases, the fixed and the modular event-based Coachella Formula One. Mid-term and long-term, do you want to keep building the two, or is there a favorite child?
At the beginning, it was only event-based.
Brand building.
Brand building and cost, right? We didn't have money to build 100 stations. We had a credit card. I could afford 3 on my credit card. So we did 3 and we said, well, we're not going to make a big impact with 3 in a city, but we can if we keep reusing these 3, one event, the next event. And so we built the business on events. I think the longevity of the business and the scale happens with permanent, but there's no better brand builder than if you're dancing your heart out at your favorite music festival and you're hot and it's $10 to buy a water bottle here, or with Hope, it's free. We're serving primarily major urban areas, especially in the United States. How can we use either our technology platform or develop one that serves the greater world, especially areas that don't have clean running water? I mean, there's plenty of cases in the United States.
I was going to say, you have this EPA survey every year which says that the infrastructure decay is worsening. There is basically 2 ways to look at that. The first is someone is going to pour the 700 million it needs right now to bring it back to state.
Yeah.
Or you go in an India type of situation where they entered kind of the post-utility era, where utilities serve water, but they never have the claim that the water is safe. And then it's on the people to have their under the sink appliance, point of use, point of entry. So that could be a possible market for you.
Totally.
It's on the one hand, the fastest growing segment in water tech.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's also the most competitive.
Of course.
So where do you see Hope Hydration?
Where do I see us in 20 years? Every city even is going to have a very specific model that works. The North Star vision, why we wake up every day, is that you can walk within a minute anywhere around the world, find free filtered drinking water because of the Hope platform. On the brand piece, really, really important that in 10 years, what we aspire to do is that if you see a Hope station, you immediately trust, I can drink this. So if you and I go on vacation to Bali tomorrow and they say, you shouldn't drink the tap water because you're going to get sick, but you see a Hope station, oh no, Hope's done the work, of course you can drink from that.
But that has an additional level of complexity because that means now you're building a distributed utility, which means there is maintenance, operation, reparation, stuff like that. And
totally.
That is something different from building cool water units.
Totally. We tackle that in the United States now, and we're building a platform that scales. But the question is, how can we scale a technology to solve that operational kind of maintenance piece, that it isn't one man hour or woman hour in, one man or woman hour out. It's a platform that can basically streamline the whole process. So we've developed internal tech systems, alerting. We work with a lot of partner, either startups or corporates on their technology to be able to automate that whole thing, where instead of having to send someone out every day or every week and check and make sure everything is good and it's all run by a system that sends alerts. And so we can be on the ready if alerts happen anywhere in the world, but we don't have to spend the labor hours to be able to make sure that the infrastructure is there, only to resolve issues as they come up.
Are you the type of business where if an investor comes in and puts 200 million and say, go burn my money, you can just roll out everywhere and just take the market by storm?
Candidly, we have way more demand for the station locations than we can fill. There's two pieces for this to work, so I'll take a step back. We need the locations and we need the advertisers. In the ad business, as you scale and have more locations, the sale gets easier, especially with corporates. The work to buy one screen in New York City is the same or almost the same work to buy 1,000 screens, because you have to create the content, you shoot it, you edit it, and then you publish it. But the publishing is a small piece of work. So as we scale the network, the sale becomes easy. If you own any land that meets kind of our metrics of impact and advertising, we will give you the station for free, and we will also pay you an ongoing fee to be able to host the location. So anyone who's thinking about, I just renovated my brand new state-of-the-art stadium and I need 200 water stations and I'm going to spend $5,000 per station. Okay, $1 million here. It's free. and also it's a new revenue driver for you. So we have a lot more demand than we can even fill right now. So if anyone's listening that has $200 million and wants to give it to us, please. But we also don't want to grow too fast, because if we grow too fast, everything falls apart, and you need to keep tight controls. And so if tomorrow someone gave us $200 million and said you have a year to spend it, we would probably fail because we grow too fast. I mean, we've grown revenues, give or take, like 120x over the last 24 months.
Not bad.
Not bad. Every day we push the limits of how fast can we grow, but you grow too fast as well, and it's also a problem.
I have two last questions, a stupid and a clever, or less stupid. The stupid one is, do you know that it was a TikTok viral hit? There were 2-3 different videos of that, of a brand who was doing free bottled water paid by advertising, and they were making that viral through a guy playing like the angry customer saying, oh, that must be
water. Free water. We're a free beverage company called Free Water. The water's free because the packaging is the ad space.
Do you aim at that kind of activations, or do you say, no, our brand building is association to Coachella, Formula One. We don't want the nasty guy on TikTok being our way to.
I give credit to Free Water because they know how to get viral engagement. You see their videos. We have a different approach to it, but at the end of the day, any media or any press is good press. I look at brands that really resonate with what we're trying to build, and Red Bull's a good example. It's a can of energy, but you think about any extreme sports ever, and you think about Red Bull. You think about someone jumping from space and parachuting, Red Bull. Triple backflip on the mountains is Red Bull. They've found the category that really resonate with them, and then they own it. Our tagline is refill your next adventure. So we're not necessarily targeting the extremists, the extreme sports athlete. We're targeting everyday people, but we want to be part of your next adventure.
You were the one bringing up Red Bull, so I allow myself that question. Red Bull doesn't produce Red Bull. Red Bull only does the branding and the association, everything. Long term, it's a very different job between creating the Hope Hydration brand and
maintaining the machine
and stuff like that. So would you see that eventually partnering with a Panther or partnering with whoever is in point-of-use, point-of-entry type of business, and you take care of the branding element and you become like a premium vehicle for this kind of...
So it's funny you bring up Penta. They are investors of ours and partners, and so we work with them on a lot of cases. When you think about 10-year growth, how do you structure the organization? Is there a marketing company and an asset-owning company? And how do you... They're completely different management. To be interesting, in 10 years, we'll rewatch and we'll have a follow-up to tell you what that strategy was. But it is something we're working on all the time, of who are the right partners in the space that are much bigger than us that we can learn from. And we go to them when we say, hey, if our goal is to own a category like Red Bull, how would you structure it?
Closing question.
Of course.
You were speaking here. I guess you have a message to bring to people. So now if you look straight into the camera, you have 1 or 2 sentences. What is the take-home message you want people who might have been at Aquatech or might not have been at Aquatech to take home from Hope Hydration?
Depending on who you are, I've got a few different messages. If you are a consumer, reach out to Hope Hydration and tell us where we can install that you want to refill at. We want to bring water within a 30-second minute walk everywhere around the world. So tell us where you are, where you want us to be, and we'll do everything that we can to be there. That's number 1. Number 2, if you are a corporate, a technology company, and you're interested in working with us, you see synergies in our business models and our technologies, please reach out as well, because we're only as good as our partnerships. Partnership with Pentair, our partnership with T-Mobile, they're instrumental in us being able to do what we could do. We're a small team. And then third, if you're a funder, if you're an investor and you're interested in the space, $200 million check goes a long way, and we can do a lot of good with that. But it's very strong returns. It's very high growth. And obviously, it's got to be a right fit. We look for value add and aligned partners. But if you think you're that, reach out and we'd love to talk.
Awesome. That was absolutely catchy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And see you in 10 years.
See you in 10 years.